So the 49ers did the funniest thing on Friday afternoon. There was the Brock Purdy shockwave, but then there was even bigger news. They found Jake Moody's competition. They signed a kicker like 45 minutes after the Brock Purdy contract agreement. Obviously, the monumental news. I was being sarcastic a little bit earlier. But while we were all talking about Brock Purdy's contract, the 49ers very surreptitiously signed the kicking competition that we had been expecting them to sign for Jake Moody. So, because we have to cover everything and because I think this is significant, about 24 hours later, we can give this the appropriate time of day. This is the article up on the San Francisco Standard. I alluded to the timing of this up in the headline of the San Francisco Standard. As Brock Purdy made shockwaves, the 49ers created a competition for Jake Moody at kicker. This is Greg Joseph. He's the new kicker whom the 49ers have added. That's Joseph in a Jets uniform last year. He kicked one field goal for the New York Jets. The reason that is significant is because Brant Boyer, who's the 49ers' new special teams coordinator, was the special teams coordinator of the Jets last season. So he obviously had some contact with Greg Joseph, 30-year-old South African kicker. He's been in the league since 2018. He's been on 6 teams. A couple years ago, remember when the Vikings were winning all those miraculous games? Greg Joseph had a couple of game winners that season. One of them was a 61-yard game winner against the New York Giants. And I don't care where it happens, inside, outside, with the wind at your back. This was an indoor kick at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. If you can kick a 61-yarder successfully in an NFL game, that's saying something. If you can kick a 61-yarder to win in an NFL game, that's saying even more. And the 49ers, they still say that they believe in Jake Moody. They believe that it was the injury that caused him to really struggle last year. The numbers would actually suggest so. He was 13 of 14 before the high ankle sprain, and he was 11 of 20 after it. They believe that he's going to turn things around, but they also believe that part of the ingredient for Moody to turn things around is to have competition that he takes seriously. Well, somebody who's nailed a 61-yarder to win a game at the gun at the NFL level, that's somebody who Jake Moody is going to have to take seriously. Moody's 25. Greg Joseph, this new 49ers kicker, is 30 years old, and he's going to be the competition. Remember when I did the live or the video from Bernal Heights at Sunset in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about Kenny Almendarez, the Lou Groza Award winner that goes to the best kicker in college football. He kicked for Louisiana. They invited him to the rookie tryout, which was just over a week ago at the team facility. They obviously didn't sign Almendarez, and that was always going to be a long shot, right? The 49ers were looking for a veteran, and if a rookie blew them away, if Almendarez would have blown them away, then maybe he would have gotten the shot to compete with Jake Moody. But they wanted a veteran, and they wanted that veteran to come in time for OTAs. And OTAs are going to be this week. I'll be down in Santa Clara. We're going to have a series of practices that we watch over the course of the next month. It's going to culminate in the veteran mini camp. That usually is at the start of June. And then everybody's going to go home or go to wherever they train over the summer. They'll return to the team facility where this kicking competition will intensify. And, you know, the question right now is, when might we see competition progress with Greg Joseph and with Jake Moody? I think that the preseason is going to be necessary. They've got to get some sort of game repetitions in here to really see what Jake Moody's all about coming off of that high ankle sprain, because we actually have seen Jake Moody excel in practice before. We've seen him deliver a solid rookie season. Moody kicked about 84% make rate as a rookie. That's right around the league average. For a rookie, you'll take it. You know, if the 49ers 84% in 2023, they're like, okay, but we used the 3rd-round draft pick on you. We want you to get better. And he got worse. Obviously, the 13 of 14 was better, but following the high ankle sprain, he was only 11 of 20. That's like 55%. That's definitely a failing grade in the NFL. So the goal for Moody is to be above 85%. Can he prove to the 49ers that's possible? And then can he actually do it on the field? Greg Joseph, over his NFL career, is about an 82% field goal kicker. So he's slightly below average when you look at the overall metrics. There's a reason why he's still available, or he was still available in the middle of May. So is not a perfect kicker. This is not a world beater, but this is somebody with experience who, again, has nailed a 61-yard game winner. And Kyle Shanahan talked about it at the owners' meetings. He said that Moody has to respect the guy. Moody has to, I think the subtext there from Kyle Shanahan was that Moody has to fear for his job. For this competition to be what it needs to be, Jake Moody needs to feel the pressure before games start. He needs to find a way to kick through that pressure. He needs to find a way to succeed through that pressure. And if he doesn't, the 49ers need to have a credible option to replace him. And I think that they believe that a veteran has to be that, because they hadn't seen Kenny Almendarez struggle through an NFL season or even succeed in an NFL season yet. It wasn't possible. He's a rookie. So they go for the veteran who's been around since 2018. And funny enough, they make the signing just as we hear about the Brock Purdy record raise. Now, speaking of the record raise for Brock Purdy, this is discussed in the San Francisco Standard. I'm going to go to the article. I'm going to go to the little screen grab here. We can zoom in on this. Right now we're waiting for the final structure of this contract to come out. I've already surmised that how some of the things in this contract are going to work. I've already reported that the salary cap hit for 2025 is going to be $8.5 million. And now we can just do the financial Tetris. We can do some reverse engineering in our heads and probably surmise that the signing bonus is going to be a little bit less than $40 million. Brock Purdy took less in year one, but the 49ers are making up for it in years 2 and year 3. We have some of these variables, and we're working on everything to develop and really paint the full picture for you. But until that's all possible, and Brock Purdy hasn't signed this contract yet, that's going to be signed at some point early next week, we can have some fun with the larger numbers. And I did that. I was flying today from Nashville to San Francisco and already produced several fun nuggets with this. How about this one? Over the first 3 years of his career, Brock Purdy made $2.64 million total. So 36 starts over the first 3 years of his career. 2.64 million divided by 36 equals $73,000 per regular season start. So now, just for fun argument's sake, why don't we assume that Purdy will start all 17 games over the 5 new years of this contract? He's under contract for 6 years now, but there's 5 new years for $265 million. So if he starts all 17 games and he makes all the money that's available to him in this contract, that would come out to $3.1 million per start. So Brock Purdy per start is now set to make more than he did over the course of his entire rookie contract. Then if you want to go apples to apples and compare it start to start, $3.1 million per start post-contract versus $73,000 per start pre-contract, that would be a 147% pay raise, which is the largest pay raise that we've ever seen in NFL history. Purdy, the very last pick in the 2022 NFL draft, is now the highest paid player in that year's draft class. So it is safe to say that Brock Purdy's status as pick number 262, which had been tethered to his small rookie deal, is now officially irrelevant. That was intentional. Mr. Irrelevant, the money is not relevant any longer. Brock Purdy is here with a 4,147% raise as the quarterback of the 49ers. I've done a ton of video content on this. I've done a ton of content up here on the YouTube channel. Of course, the big article breakdown, the place where you first heard about the salary cap hit is on the San Francisco Standard. So you can go ahead and check that out. And while that all was happening, we got news that Jake Moody has got some competition. The 49ers doing a lot of work over the course of this offseason. In fact, that was just at the M Stop in Balboa Park. I land in San Francisco. I grab my car. Shout out to Jack. I keep my car at Jack's place down in San Mateo. And I was like, I got to go pay Sal a visit at the M Stop to talk a little bit about the 49ers offseason and, of course, to have some of the best food in San Francisco. So without further ado, why don't we go pay Sal a visit at the M Stop?
It's a really good time to step back and appreciate all the 49ers have accomplished this offseason. They've re-signed Robert Saleh, their great defensive coordinator, much needed following the big-time struggles on that side of the ball. They've renovated the defense for Saleh, so he has some moldable clay to work with. OTAs begin this week, but so many of those 11 draft picks used on the defensive side of the ball for the 49ers. They've gone out and they've re-signed George Kittle, future Hall of Famer. Maybe Kittle will be by Joe Montana and Jerry Rice on this train over here at the M Stop in Balboa Park. Sal, the owner, he's left room on purpose for modern day 49ers. And, you know, that leads me to the most recent piece of business that the 49ers have accomplished. They have re-signed Brock Purdy. And yes, there is room for Brock Purdy on the Muni train here at the M Stop. But 49ers, I think you look objectively at what they wanted to do this offseason. They wanted to modernize the roster. They wanted to get younger, faster, healthier. They wanted to clear the brush, right? And they wanted to double down on their A-listers, the foundational pillars of this team, especially the ones on the lame duck years of their deals. George Kittle qualified, Brock Purdy qualified. They're both aboard on deals that work within the 49ers salary structure. Purdy, again, I'm the only one reporting this. I don't know why. Maybe I'm the only one with the information. But Purdy's 2025 salary cap hit is only $8.5 million. This is a contract worth up to $265 million. $53 million per year with a year one cap hit of only $8.5 million. So Purdy came to play ball, just like Steph Curry came to play ball. George Kittle came to play ball. Everybody has, and in the 49ers case of things here, everybody has made sure that a team can be built around these big financial investments. Good big sandwiches here at the M Stop. Come pay Sal a visit. Today was the T line for me. Very, very fitting following the very, very satisfying contract resolution early, May 16th. The 49ers and Brock Purdy agreed to a deal. Sets it up for the future in San Francisco.
This is a 5-flour sesame seed sourdough made by Rise Up Bakery. And that's the meat in the middle is going to be a turkey pastrami with all the fixing, add avocado. Thank David later.
That's right. You can thank me later. That's a look at the M Stop. It's one of the best spots. And that mural is really, really cool. You know who else they could put on that mural? Fred Warner. I'm serious, because you know what the next contractual business for the 49ers is going to be? A Fred Warner extension. Now, I talked about everything the 49ers have done over the course of this offseason. Well, this is Fred Warner's contract. And you might ask, why would they want to work on this one a year earlier than Purdy and George Kittle? Because Warner still has 2 years under contract, 2025 and 2026. It's not a lame duck year. Well, look at the cap hits for Fred Warner to close out this contract. $29.1 million, $26.7 million. Those might be the highest or the second highest on this 49ers team. I think that Trent Williams actually might be a little bit higher, although they did restructure Trent last year. So we'll check in on that in a little bit. All I know is that it's a really, really high cap hit. And knowing what we do know now, and I mean, we knew this before the Purdy deal, but this was just ascertained by the Purdy deal. The 49ers want to lower these cap hits as much as possible in the short run, which is why Purdy's cap hit for a $265 million contract is only $8.5 million here in this 2025 season. They want to lower these cap hits as much as possible so they can carry over the unused space into the future, because they believe that salary cap space now is more valuable than salary cap space then in the future. It's a cap inflation thing, right? If the cap is going to be increasing year over year with the league revenues, then it's a more precious commodity now. And the 49ers, to fit everything into their cost structure, want to aggressively backload as much as possible. They're using void years, just like the Philadelphia Eagles are using void years. Both of these teams have used those void years to prorate the salary cap hits into the future as far as possible. And that's going to happen with this Brock Purdy contract. We're going to see the exact details of this within the next few days. And I think that there's impetus for getting Fred Warner's deal done a year early lying in that salary cap, lying in the fact that the 49ers can take a look at this contract and they could take some of that signing some of that cap hit and convert some of this base salary. Look, he's got two very large base salaries, $17.65 million. They can take a lot of that money up until, what is it, 1.5, 1.6 million, whatever it is for the league minimum for Fred Warner. You can convert that base salary into a signing bonus, into an option bonus, whatever you convert it into, make sure it prorates and stretch that cap hit out over several seasons so that it's not nearly 30 million in this season. Now, in the case of Warner, because he's playing at a Hall of Fame level, it wouldn't just be a simple restructure. It would be an extension, probably a pay raise in the short term because he would get new signing bonus money in the short term. But you can reward Warner while also lowering his short-term cap hit. Guess what the 49ers were able to do with Brock Purdy? They rewarded Brock Purdy while keeping his salary cap hit manageable. It wasn't possible to lower it because it was already, almost criminally low, right? It was already now 5.2 or 5.3 million. Well, it's only going to go up like 3.3 million to that 8.5 million. With George Kittle, the 49ers lowered his 2025 salary cap hit. So you can execute win-wins. And that's been the main point. Hopefully the video that I put out there this morning was very educational. But I'm always trying to look at the big picture, and I talked about what all they've accomplished so far this offseason when I was over at the M-Stop. And now I can say, well, if Fred Warner is one of the next on this list for San Francisco, then it's going to be unusual because they're going to be re-upping a player with 2 years left in his deal. But let me serve you this. Just like George Kittle's contract, which was ratified, about a week and a half ago, was foreshadowing for how they would execute Brock Purdy's deal. And it was. The multiple bonus structure, pushing the cap hits back, really every single year of George Kittle's contract was a veteran minimum base salary. He had, 4 or 5 signing and option bonuses. That was unprecedented in NFL history. So if George Kittle's contract was a clue as to how they were going to approach Brock Purdy's contract, as it was, possibly Fred Warner, the way that the 49ers approach the linebackers situation is going to be how they approach Purdy's situation a few years down the line. Purdy's under contract all the way through 2030. But the likelihood that this deal is not touched significantly before then is not very high. Brock Purdy probably continues to play really well. There's been no sign that that shouldn't be the case over the course of his first 3 years in the NFL. That's why the 49ers were so confident paying him. So if that ends up happening and you get into 2027, get into 2028, and you lose all of the effective guarantees of the contract because those are all stacked in the first 3 years, that's typically when you see a renegotiation. That's when a player wants a renegotiation. It doesn't always have to be in the lame duck year. There could be lame duck years in a contract. And once we see the actual structure of Brock Purdy's deal and where some of these bonuses trigger, we're going to have a better idea of exactly where the 49ers and Purdy might think about making moves in the future to manage the salary cap, continue mortgaging stuff into the future. But obviously, we're going to have to see Purdy play, and we're going to have to see how the situation develops before then. I think it's just really, really interesting to note that Fred Warner is probably going to have his contract redone or extended with 2 years left. And the 49ers may execute more of this type of business moving forward to continue to stay salary cap compliant. Looking at that sandwich made me thirsty. Got some water here. 49ers sign a kicker. It is Greg Joseph, 82% career kicker. If you all want, we can go to the 49ers depth chart and take a look at what that Greg Joseph signing looks like. I'm not going to predict him to make the roster. It really sounds like the 49ers believe in Moody, but they'll believe in him until they don't if he continues to struggle. So for now, we could just consider Greg Joseph to be more serious competition than Jake Moody has had to this point at the NFL level. So this is the 49ers depth chart. Right side of the dividing line means 90-man projection. Left side means 53-man projection. Here you have Moody. Here you have Joseph, shaded in teal, as a free agent signing. I'm wading into the comments section at my own risk. Everybody enjoy the video this morning. Big video on Brock Purdy's contract, explaining how the 49ers and Purdy set this up for a win-win. As you know, I geek out on the numbers. I can't wait to delve a little bit further into it. Everybody can join the like party. That's what Eric Gomes says. Do I think that the 49ers have a big move plan that nobody knows about? Maybe Amari Cooper, but I'm speculating, I'm surmising about that kind of stuff. But I think if they were about to do that, they would just do it. So maybe it's still possible, but I don't think that it's set up and imminent at this point. They've got the salary cap room to make short-term investments, but they also need to have the salary cap prudence to realize that money they don't spend now can be carried over into the future, and they are going to need it in future years. But they've checked off a lot of things that they've needed to do over the course of this offseason. This is a good question. If pushing out salary cap to future years is so smart, why doesn't every team do it? Because not every NFL team is so smart. Let's put it that way. I think the 49ers and the Eagles are pushing limits, are pushing boundaries. And those are two of the most successful teams in the NFL today. Philadelphia happens to be the defending Super Bowl champion. But the two teams with the most money placed into void years, which means money stretched out beyond the term of a player's contract, the two top teams in utilizing that strategy are the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. Both of those teams doing something right. So it's really hard to fault the 49ers for dead money when Philadelphia also has a lot of dead money, when pushing money into void years essentially asks to have dead money on the books. Because ultimately, you're not going to extend every single player through his void years just so you can feel good about his cap hit. Now, almost always, if you put money into void years, like you'll see here with, let's get to Fred Warner's contract. Like you see right here with Fred Warner's contract, 2027 and 2028. These are both void years. He's not under contract in that season, but for the time being, his signing bonus proration still stretches into that season, but it will all accelerate to hit the salary cap once his contract is terminated. So if it doesn't last past 2026, then this signing bonus money will hit in 2026. So, or 2027, right after he's gone. So if you build void years in, you are expecting dead money to hit because you're not going to have plans like the 49ers do for Fred Warner with all of the players that you extend. It just isn't feasible. It isn't smart for a football team. You're going to have to shoulder the dead money. You're going to have to shoulder the acceleration in the short run. So I think it's hard for some teams to wrap their heads around the fact that dead money is okay because it's already money you've already spent, and salary cap room that's not used carries over from season to season. Teams are afraid of inaccurate headlines because most of the media doesn't understand these finances either. And they're like, oh my God, the 49ers have a ton of dead money. The Eagles have a ton of dead money. It makes other teams shy away, I think, to some degree, from employing the formulas that the 49ers and the Eagles employ. And because of that, the 49ers and Eagles are two really good franchises that have been efficient over the course of the past several years. But because of that, they aren't copycat nearly as much as you would think they would be, because there's still this stigma to the way that they operate. And it's what's wild to me, because the NFL is this multi-billion-dollar business, multi-billion-dollar industry. And still, you see it to this day, a lot of these teams don't act and proceed in ways that would suggest they're trying to get the greatest edge possible. Even though I'm sure there's a lot of smart people in those buildings, I think that there are a lot of factors to this. I think there's a big-time short-term success incentive in the NFL that comes from the owners who want to see results right away. They don't want to hear about dead money because dead money might make them think they're wasting their money. So, maybe there's just this general aversion from NFL teams to do what is financially the most sound course of action. And the Eagles have not been afraid of it, and neither have the 49ers. I think it's all really fascinating stuff, and I do think that is a good question. What's the deal with the Humphreys issue? Well, he's not signed yet. And it doesn't look like they're close to signing him either. His agency, this is all I can tell you about DJ Humphreys, the former Pro Bowl tackle. His agency went out and said he's agreed to terms with the 49ers. About as good of a source that you can find outside of Humphreys himself. Okay, so that's great, but then he didn't appear in any official press releases, never officially appeared on the 49ers roster, and a couple days ago, we find out that he didn't actually sign the contract. Something caused him to get cold feet. I don't know what it was, but the 49ers went on and signed 2 other tackles, and Andre Dillard and Nicholas Petit-Frere. So I think very clearly DJ Humphreys was their first choice. They signed him, or they agreed to terms with him before Dillard and Petit-Frere. But if the first choice doesn't want to show up, doesn't want to sign his contract, he is a free agent. You're not drafting him to the 49ers. Your hands are relatively tied. So we'll see how this progresses. We'll have a chance to talk to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, especially Kyle Shanahan this week, to see where they're at with DJ Humphreys. Eric Gomes, plenty excited yesterday, saying as long as the NFL salary cap keeps going up, it helps. You're right, Eric. That is very true. Could Clowney be a good pickup for the 49ers? How old is Jadeveon now? It's got to be 30. I remember he's one of those players that was younger than everybody thought. It seems like he's been around forever. He's 32, yeah. It's one of those guys where last year I was like, is he 34? Is he 35? He's been around for a damn long time. He was only 31. I mean, but only in NFL terms, it's a little tough, right? So we'll see. Last year, Jadeveon Clowney played for the Panthers, so he wasn't on a good team last year. And the 49ers are looking to modernize this defensive line. They've done that. They've cut some veterans. If you do circle back and bring back some veterans, it would be guys who could be strong on a plug-and-play basis and guys who could help shepherd along the youngsters in that D-line room. And then that veteran player that you do bring in for a job like that is going to have to be very, very good at that job to justify the lost competition, because you're giving up a roster spot to an older player, so you have to justify that lost competition. So I don't think that it's likely that the 49ers bring in Jadeveon Clowney. It doesn't seem that they were all too interested in bringing in any higher tier veteran defensive lineman. And I'm not saying that about Clowney. I know that he's 32 years old. But I think over the course of this offseason, they are going for a youth movement reset up front. They are getting younger. That is the goal. Clowney was known for that massive hit against Michigan when he was with South Carolina. What was that, the Outback Bowl? I mean, it was an otherworldly play. It was the hit heard around the world. Brock's salary cap hit for the 2025 season is $8.5 million. Bo says that Clowney takes a lot of plays off and he freelances in the defense, leaving him out of position consistently. Well, that wouldn't be good. I know that there's a little bit of that reputation for Jadeveon Clowney. The 49ers definitely want system-compatible players. He would be a rotational piece. That much is for sure. I think that the 49ers are going to go through OTAs. They're going to collect some intel between OTAs, how everybody comes back from OTAs, what kind of shape they're in, and finally the training camp. I think the 49ers will have a very good gauge on if they need another veteran defensive end. Somebody like Clowney might still be available heading into training camp. I mean, he could be somebody that's just biding his time. Mike says after Devondre Campbell, he doubts the 49ers signed Jadeveon Clowney. Mercenary type of veteran, right? It didn't work out with Devondre Campbell last year. I don't know if you'd have the same problems with Jadeveon Clowney, but I think that the 49ers, the Devondre Campbell incident led them to really, really value youth, really put that above a lot else. They realized they needed to get younger, hungrier. Devondre obviously wasn't very hungry last season. Jadeveon Clowney, wow. Okay, so this happened when he was with the Browns. He was sent home from Browns practice on January 6th, 2023, after making critical comments about the team and coaching staff. Yeah, so I could see the 49ers not going there, especially after what happened with Devondre Campbell. Who's a salary cap pro in the Niners front office? Brian Hampton, Jeff Diamond are the two main guys. Parag Marathe is the leader of the room. Those guys are both salary cap gurus. Obviously, Parag, really good with that as well. But Parag is what we call the chief negotiator. So Parag has a lot on his plate, and he's very, very good at what he does. 49ers now have an entire analytics team dedicated to the salary cap and making sure that they could smooth out these contracts. During yesterday's show, after Brock had signed, we went really, really deep into the structure. And we, what you have to do is you have to see what the 49ers do at different times and learn from it. So in the case of George Kittle, that was, I thought, a great preparation for what the 49ers would do for Brock Purdy. And the two deals happened less than 2 weeks apart. Great way to look at it is right here. This is what I wrote on May 12th. So just 5 days ago. There's the Kittle structure, the staggered option bonuses to keep the cap down. But, at the start of every one of those color bars, the very top row, the player gets a whole heck of a lot of money, and it's guaranteed money. It's very amenable to the player to do that. And as we could see, there's a lot of amenable parts of this deal to Brock Purdy, but it also helps the football team on the salary cap end. Mike points out that Von Miller is still a free agent. Remember who picked up Von Miller in 2021, ended up winning a Super Bowl? The Los Angeles Rams. We're almost at 90,000 subscribers. Hit that sub button. We've gone through so much here over the course of the past couple days. I mean, it seems like a long, long time ago when I was in Western Kentucky. I want to see if I still have my Western Kentucky video here somewhere. I mean, that was just a couple days ago. I was all the way in Western Kentucky doing the Upton Stout piece. We probably don't have it available for us right now, but you should go check that out because that was an on-assignment piece earlier this week. And then Brock Purdy signed his contract and everything went crazy for us. Yeah, I don't know where it is. So I did we did the Connor Colby piece with LeVar Woods from Iowa. Here it is. Here's Upton Stout. Take a look at this. Just a quick little preview from earlier this week. Got to get it up.
Newest 49ers and definitely the biggest personality of this 2025 draft class, Upton Stout, went to college here at Western Kentucky. I'm on location where I got a chance to talk to the Hilltoppers head coach, Tyson Helton, about Upton Stout's 3-year college career. I put on the tape of Upton, and first two plays are him just barreling into the backfield. I know he's a great cover guy. I think his first game here at Western Kentucky there was a pick six. Yeah. And obviously the 49ers like that, but at 5'8", 180, he highlights his physicality on his tape. And it's almost like he's playing as a glorified linebacker, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Is that what he's about, that physical play?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably his best skill trait is his physicality. I think he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He shows up to the park mad, which is good, because we're in a confrontational sport. And, he has a pro mentality about him. His work ethic, his day-to-day routine, and I think he gets the fact when I say chip on the shoulder, hey, I'm 5'8", 180, but I'm going to show the world that I can ball out. And so, you see that in his play every single down, basically. But probably his best skill trait is his aggressiveness and being able to blitz him. And there's a skill to that too. There's a talent to that piece. His timing is really good. You know, we do a really good job here offensively of trying to train our quarterbacks and making the defense use their indicators, make them show. You know, and so we're gonna try to get that quarterback to make the coverage show what they're going to do or what's the pressure going to be. On the flip side of that, Upton, you know, he spends a lot of time on his craft playing that game and trying not to give those keys away. Mm-hmm. And so there is a talent in that with his blitz ability. And he's a thick body. You know, he's not a tall body, but he's a thick guy, big shoulders, can run through people, and he has no fear. So that skill is really, really good, especially with what he's going to be doing in San Francisco.
And there's instincts, and there's also the testament to hard work, right? The film preparation.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a couple, not necessarily blitzes, but he sniffs out screens that I've seen on tape.
Yep.
And it seems that, you know, you talk to any NFL coach, that's what's going to make a difference because everybody's fast, everybody's strong at that level. Yeah. It seems that he might have that extra edge from the preparation standpoint.
He's you know, there's two things. One, the ball finds him. You know, what do I mean by that? That means, you know, it's thrown to him. You know, but there's a talent in that. He drops into areas and has a knack for where that ball might be headed. He can judge it like a receiver, and he has great ball skills, so then he can go do something with it when he intercepts it. But you're talking about a guy that spends a tremendous amount of time honing his craft. I mean, the guy sits on the front row every meeting that I ever had here. He has missile lock on you at all times. His eyes never leave you. You can tell the man is a sponge. You know, he is trying to absorb and gain knowledge every time he's sitting in any meeting. I see the guy constantly in the world of technology. You know, everybody can say, yeah, I sat at my house and, you know, I watched game film and all that. He's kind of an old school guy. He wants to be up here like the coaches and be in this arena constantly and be in the film room watching film and being able to walk down the hall and share ideas with coaches. And he just treats it like a pro, you know, and he's a guy that he's going to come in and he's going to put in a full day's work. And, you know, I think he understands he has to do that. You know, he takes tremendous pride in the fact that, yeah, I have a lot of talent. Yes, I am a good player, but I'm constantly trying to show the world that I'm trying to be the best in the business too. So excited for him to see where that goes with San Francisco.
Upton Stout, that's his dad. We talk about his dad a little bit later in this video. A lot of cool footage I was able to get on assignment over there in Western Kentucky. So make sure you check that out. You know, I posted that just a few hours before the 49ers signed Brock Purdy. That is, 32 minutes with Tyson Helton, who's the head coach of the University of Kentucky. And that's insight that we're not getting anywhere else. I mean, if you want me to, if you guys go watch the hell out of that, I'm going to go to every single college. I went to Ames, Iowa last year. This time last year, I was in Ames. That's where Iowa State is. And I sat down in Matt Campbell's office. That's the head coach of Iowa State, Brock Purdy's head coach for college ball, and got a ton of intel there. That was back when I worked for The Athletic. Now I'm with the San Francisco Standard, but did the big 3,000-word piece on The Athletic about Brock Purdy and company. So if you guys go and watch Upton Stout and you really like that, let me know. And I'll, you know, you love me. I love flying around to different places. I'll go to all the schools. I'll sit down with all the head coaches, and we'll do that right here on the YouTube channel. So anyway, 49ers signed Greg Joseph. Somebody asked, why is Moody still on the roster? Well, he's on a rookie contract. It's not costing the 49ers anything to keep him right now. He's not guaranteed a spot on the 53. He made 13 of his 14 field goals before the high ankle sprain. They said they're going to bring in competition. We'll see if the competition beats him out, but Moody's a talented guy. Maybe he'll win. Maybe he'll rise to the top, and maybe he'll go on to have a good career. It should all be a meritocracy. It should all be based on competition, and that's what the 49ers have done with this signing of Greg Joseph. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Moody's got competition. Brock Purdy has a contract, a new one, $8.5 million 2026 cap hit. Wow. See you soon.